It's my September reading wrap up. Isn't it fun to notice how quickly time passes, drifting away from us slowly, like garbage being pulled out into sea off of a popular beach? Kind of depressing. So September I finished 4 books. 2 of these I'm planning on having separate, more in-depth videos on, so I won't talk about them as much. A few of them I think I have more interesting things to say. So to start with, we have Wound by Oksana Vasyakina. This is a story of a woman who takes her mother's ashes from basically like one part of Russia back to Moscow, and then finally to Ust-Ilimsk, which is in Siberia, kind of near the Lake Baikal area. And so we see kind of in the backdrop of that story, like that story is the backdrop of the narrator to talk about their relationship to their mother, their relationship to their sexuality, and their relationship to writing and poetry itself. I think this is, if you like kind of meandering conversations about life, this could be very interesting to you. If you like something that is a little bit not stale in a bad way, like stale in that it's not juicy, it's not filled with life, it's slightly pessimistic and dry, that kind of staleness. Stale is not the right word, but it's the what came to my head. I think this book has that. It's not flowing with passion. It is a brutalist discussion of life. What's that Coolio line? Life is a bitch and then you die. Kind of the vibe of this book. But yeah, it's written by Vasyakina. She is a lesbian Russian poet. I think the book itself, I enjoyed it, but I think this might not be your cup of tea. If you like a little bit more excitement, if you like a little bit more drama, you ain't gonna like this one. So yeah. Again, I will have a video more in depth about that book sometime soon, hopefully. Next up is Audition by Ryu Murakami, another book that I'll have a more in-depth video about. Basically, the book itself, it's about a guy who he like holds these auditions to find a new girlfriend, and then the girlfriend ends up being darker than originally suspected. A pretty basic story. I really enjoyed this as a thriller, but it's not, again, it's not like life-changing lit, so it's like always going to be kind of in the mid-range of like take it or leave it if you don't read it. There's plenty of books just like this, but I had a really good time, and I thought the ending was very quick, but I don't know, I think I really enjoyed the book. I had a good time. I'm kind of in the mood to read these sort of like dark, creepy books at the moment, and this was just a good example of that. It's still like in the miso soup more though. Ghost Music by Anyu. So I think this is a very interesting pair to Anyu's Braised Pork, which I've read and enjoyed. It's like that book is about a like painter and her experiences with obsession with art, becoming obsessed with an image and a drawing and where that takes her. And this story is about a pianist who deals with some stuff happens, she meets certain people, so it's like it's also involves like the relationship to art and to music, you know, an art form, but rather than it being this like obsession, it's almost this sense of being lost. Like you have a craft and you get so lost in that craft that your identity is destroyed. And I do think I liked that book more, Braised Pork more, but I think that this book was a very interesting compliment. And I kind of also liked that the ending, basically what happens with her relationship. Like I think that that's not something that you commonly see in books like this. It's not really the way that it usually resolves, but I like how it resolves in this situation. Again, I still enjoy it. This is just another example. I've mentioned this before of it's like feel good, semi creepy, semi interesting, talks about life, talks about modern themes, features a main female protagonist who's kind of going through it. This is just the kind of book that I like and therefore find really comforting to read. And I like the way that Anya writes. I was able to read this quicker than I expected myself to. I will say I enjoyed this, but I know Karen Reader didn't, so maybe take her video more than mine. Maybe hers is better. Better description. But yeah, that's Ghost Music. And the last book I have is Stolen Focus. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Stolen Focus by Hari Kari. No. Stolen Focus by Johan Hari. Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again. I kind of am thinking I want to do a more in-depth video about this because basically the people were talking about how there were protests at a school because this was assigned summer reading and the people got upset about that. I do not understand how anyone could, I don't understand how this book could be something that would get protest at a liberal arts college, if you know what I mean. Like, there is truly very little in this that I would find controversial for those of us who value social justice. I especially think that the kind of main through line of the story, spoiler alert if you will, it's a nonfiction book, is that our attention is a commodity. Companies are, trying, what is it, like, every time you turn off your phone, there's like 300 engineers trying to get you to touch it again, right? And Hari worries that because our attention is being stolen, our ability to focus is being corroded, we are not able to gather together and demand change for like really immediate problems. And I think that's probably true. I especially think that one of the problems of social media is now it's really hard to focus exactly on one thing. And like, there's benefits to that. It's really great that a lot of things are intersectional now. But when you're so focused on every single problem in the world and you can't dedicate your energy to fixing one problem and organizing and collecting to fix that one problem, it becomes like, how do you change anything, And of course we want to make the world bigger and better for everybody, right? But like, there's like a fluff in my eye, but there's like things that are more immediate. Like the climate crisis is very immediate, and if we're not able to fix that, to collect and fix that, we're gonna have a really big problem. I think on Goodreads I gave this 4 stars, which is very interesting because this is either a 4.5 stars or a 3.5 stars. Like, it's really hard to know which one it is because I do think that the messaging is really impressive. I think that the points he tries to drive home, I think he's actually really good about being, I was actually surprised at how well-rounded he is. I think there's a moment where he has a call with someone who's basically saying, hey, I was able to like fix my internet addiction, why can't you? And he kind of sort of says like, I don't like the Hari says like, I don't really believe in that, but because I want to give this person the space to speak, I've posted my interview so you can fully listen to it. I didn't because I was not that interested, but you can fully listen to this guy, even though I'm just telling you right now, like, my book is not going in this direction and I think this is problematic what he's saying. And so I think that to me is like, okay, smart, we got some, you're understanding things. Or he talks a little bit about ADHD, and I think he does it in like a surprisingly balanced way. I could understand people being not that happy with some of the stuff that he has to say, but I feel like my perspective is he's taking this stuff and he's saying it in tandem. So if you read the book and you hear what he has to say about ADHD, I think he's saying that in tandem, like all of his recommendations are like in tandem with other types of care, right? Like, for example, I think he talks about how like you have this group of people and you're saying that, the solution is to give them medication, but you're not necessarily talking about like environmental changes that you can do. And it's like, that I think a lot of people would agree with. You should have holistic care. You shouldn't just necessarily medicate people immediately. Not that people should be shamed for medicine, but a holistic approach to treatment is good, actually. I don't think that's crazy. So I'm kind of struggling to see like what truly could have been so controversial about this book, especially if you've read it already. Like the parts that are controversial too are like this big, and the parts that I think honestly people with brains and compassion would agree with is like this big. However, the reason why I struggle to give this book a true 4.5 stars is because the beginning of this book is so freaking boring and he is so annoying. Like, I really enjoyed him in the last half. First half, I couldn't stand him, got annoyed with him. I was over it. He talks about taking his nephew to Graceland so that his nephew can beat his like phone addiction. I'm sorry, if you have access to porn and video games, and then you have access to Graceland, who is picking Graceland? Who's picking Graceland? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That was weird. And then he talks about like, oh, I went to the Mona Lisa and everyone just takes selfies of the Mona Lisa. No one's sitting there and staring at the Mona Lisa. Like, yes, in this room of 50 people who all want to see the same picture, same painting as you, you're not going to stand there for 3 minutes, okay? You're going to take your picture and go. It's a problem when art becomes very popular. Everyone wants to see it, and you don't get a lot of time with it. Hello, please, think with your brain. The part that also is so annoying to me is at some point he takes like a summer or a month-long sabbatical. He's somewhere on the beaches of New England. My God, I could not stand it. I could not stand that part of the book. He talks about how like workers don't get 15 minutes a day to just focus on one task. I don't care about focusing for 15 minutes on one task. In my like personal life, in my actual personal projects, stuff like this, stuff like reading, I care about focusing. But like, I'm not. I thought the stuff about jobs, it's like I swear to you, those employees don't care. And then he talks. Oh my gosh, like the way he just talks, he sounds like such a dick in the beginning, and it's really hard to take him seriously when he's like amazed at these like stupid things, and it's just, he seems really judgmental. I promise you it gets better. I promise you. Maybe that's what people are protesting. They read the first chapter, they're like, this guy's a dick. I don't want to listen to it. Fair enough. Or read it. I listened to it. You can read it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you think, and I hope to see you in my next video.